everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Spotlight on the Arts, brought to you by the Chicopee Cultural Council. My name is Johnny Miranda, your host for the evening, and we have a terrific show for you. September is Hispanic Heritage Month, and what better way to celebrate that than with one of our grantee artists from the Chicopee Cultural Council grants that we offer every year. Her name is Sophia Anaya-Alegría, and she is here to talk to us about her beautiful art, her beautiful process, her beautiful projects, and we're so eager to learn more about her. Let's welcome Sophia Anaya-Alegría. How are you today?
Thank you, great, doing great here in this beautiful city.
I'm so happy to have you and to be able to talk about the art. Let me bring this over here. I'm excited to show your art. I'm excited to learn more about what moves you as an artist, and the people would like to know what inspires you, right? So let's start talking about, you're from Puerto Rico, right?
Yes, Guayama.
Guayama, Puerto Rico. And tell us about your town. Tell us about what made you move to this region.
Let me get this for a second. This is quite exciting for me because when you talk about roots, Hispanic roots, it's where you were born, right? Sometimes. For everybody, it's different. In my case, it was finding out that I had a hometown when I was 9 years old. My parents took me I grew up in Chicopee and Springfield. And when I was 9 years old, to Puerto Rico, and I saw these huge trees, and I saw that I had a beautiful town, and people dressed differently from the United States, it was an eye-opener, right? So this is when I began painting and drawing.
Nice.
I was 9 years old, and I went through school, and I was doing murals in the schools. But I was told by everybody that I shouldn't become an artist. At that time, remember, this was the 1968 through 1970-ish, and people were saying that artists were going to die poor. So I ended up studying something else.
Yeah, I completely feel you. I've always been in the artistry world, whether performing arts, dancing, musicals, things like that. And yeah, I got the exact same thing from people. You know, you're not gonna, that doesn't make money. What are you? So you go to college for other things. What did you go to college for?
So I went to college for economics.
Oh wow! Nice.
I always wanted to build a business.
Okay.
And my mother was an artisan, so we always kept thinking that it would be a great opportunity to sell artist works.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was more a community development idea to help the community while everybody was making money. And what did you study?
Well, I went for political science.
Oh, wow.
And sociology, and then I went into law school.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Yeah. Your art. Your art. What does your art inspire and evoke?
There are different perspectives.
Okay.
My movement is what expressionism art.
Okay.
With that movement, it also included geometric art. And part of when I was studying, I kept saying, I want to deconstruct
what you're creating?
Anything that I'm creating. So for example, there's, I used to be called an iconoclaster. And that was because when there's a lot of males, I start painting females and changing that conversation.
A disruptor.
Yes, a disruptor.
Using art as a disruption. Yes.
Yes.
That's beautiful.
Yes,
That's beautiful in the entire sense of the world.
Yeah, and growing up in Puerto Rico, you didn't see black saints and you didn't see black Jesus or anything like that. And I started to say, wait a minute. If I'm going to do any art shows, I'm going to start painting and appropriating all these pieces and making them as black people, as black color. So everything that I have continued doing is that. So I'm a feminist, and the destructor of the traditional things. A lot of people wanted me to paint. For example, I have a mural in Guayama that is a male horse, and I decided to paint him as a female. And that was because there was always this parroquianismo being the center of everything. You know, it was about
patriarchy as a center of religion, center of politics.
Yes.
And definitely with art, you can deconstruct that as you deconstruct your own paintings, which is amazing. Alvilda Sophia, which is also one of the Cultural Council grantees. So we were able to fund some of her projects this year. One of her projects was to teach some watercolor classes online, which are amazing, and they are on her Facebook.
Yes.
So if you, the Facebook will appear in the lower third. So just make sure that you can go to her page and see some of the videos that she has created for you. So they're completely free. If you want to learn how to paint, you can go to her page. You're able to look at these videos. And what I find most interesting, Alvilda, is not just how you deconstruct the process of painting, but also you're giving people an explanation of why the paint reacts the way it does, why the pigments react the way they do, how the water reacts with the paper, and you guide people through the entire process.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about why, how that is a style very typical of you, to be that give those explanations in a physics type of way.
Yes.
Tell us more about your project.
I just love physics since I was a kid, so that's my hobby, to learn about it.
Nice.
I follow some scientific sites also with NASA here. So one of the things that I was interested was in how do you create sound, right? How do you build that into something that is flat?
Yeah.
And even when it's 3D, you don't find three-dimensional, right? You don't find these layers of how does sound look like on a piece of paper. So I started to look at the different sounds. This is a plenera from Puerto Rico, and I started to draw and show people with the circles and triangles and all that, how to use geometric movement, as in quantum physics and movement, so that people can make it so that when you look at it, you're saying, oh, wait a minute, there's an expansion here. Yeah. It's not just this little center pandereta going like that, but it's vibrating at the same time. Yeah. And I just love movement. Yeah. And when I was growing up, I didn't see that anywhere. You know, you saw a lot of painters doing realism, of course, and they were more still lifes. And I was more into expressionism. Yeah. You know, nowadays, which is really interesting, there was an article that just came out in Hyperallergic saying that the new thing, again, is going to be abstract art and expressionism. Yeah. And it has grown 3 times more. So a lot of people are like, why are you teaching this? That it doesn't really look like the woodpecker like you have here. Yeah.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about these woodpeckers that you beautifully brought, and they are amazing. I believe that this is a set together, right? Yes.
And
talk to us about it.
And how to paint it, it's on the internet also.
Oh, wow.
And these are oils. This was a special thing that I did. A lot of people wanted to do not just watercolor, but also oil. Yeah. And one of the beauties of learning watercolor is that you learn how to, everything that you need to know on how to do oil. It shows you what a glaze is, for example, and how do you make this look like a glaze later. Yeah. What is transparency? The transparency has to be white. Yeah. You know, so that you can bring that light from outside. Yeah. So I will continue to paint Black people from Puerto Rico because they have a different sunshine happening in their faces. on the skin because of how the sun hits.
What about this sunshine on my face?
It's true.
Process.
It is true.
Yeah.
And so I have gotten to be in the biodiversity link of diversity of Puerto Rico.
Yes.
And I pick all our birds.
Yeah.
And I pick all our people to showcase something different,
yeah.
because every time I go into looking at art classes around, one of the beauties of the Cultural Council was that you guys took a risk in not only me bringing in a different culture
mm-hmm.
while I teach, but this is a different culture that the Massachusetts Cultural Council at one point gave me funding mm-hmm. to teach the teachers in Springfield about how we do have art in Puerto Rico, how we do have literature in Puerto Rico,
of course,
how we have performing arts in Puerto Rico and theater, and you know, Pablo Casal's coming to living in Puerto Rico because his mother was Puerto Rican. So you have all these things, and we were able to bring all this information in. So it's part of what I do.
Yeah, yeah, I love that you are always bringing the Puerto Rican culture to the forefront of your art, mm-hmm. and not just by the classes that you teach, or not just by the art that you create, but Alvilda also does a photographic exhibit in which she replicates the we call plazas mm-hmm. of Puerto Rico, right? In this case, Guayama. So she recreates the plaza, which is the city center, and she recreates it with photos and places a bench, and people can go in and feel like they are traveling, you know,
yes.
and in that place and in that moment. And it evokes nostalgia for those of us
yes.
that, from the diaspora, right?
Yes.
That miss our towns, that miss our island. So tell us more about that, those replicas.
And people forget that Puerto Rico is part of an archipelago, right? And we have more than 5,000 years of history. Mm-hmm. And when you tell this to people, it's like, no, we're not Indians with the little things on, and this is a whole island with a lot of richness, a lot of architecture that is Romanesque. Mm-hmm. We have architecture from Spain. We have architecture that is African. You know, we have Portuguese. Mm-hmm. Guayama, for example, was colonized by the French. Mm-hmm. So even the bomba dance, mm-hmm. where we go into the plaza, it's danced different mm-hmm. from how you dance it in
Guayama,
Aldea.
Mayagüez, Loíza,
yes.
Of course,
yes.
Different influences influence art differently.
Yes.
And we carry that, right? And I
yes.
think that's what's beautiful about creating art. That when you create something, mm-hmm. you're utilizing all of that background that makes up who you are.
Yes.
And that is beautiful. What other projects do you have coming up?
Well, switching a little bit. So
okay.
I went from being an economics major to being an artist.
Yes.
Right? And now I'm becoming a writer.
Awesome.
You know, I'm 63. It's time for me to write my history.
Great.
And I'm writing the history of Lawrence, Massachusetts,
nice.
Because that's where I came when I was 21 years old.
Okay.
There was a lot of racial tension at the time. And a lot of people wrote about the tension, but they didn't write about the women holding space for each other.
Yeah.
And I want to honor those women, women who stopped eating from all the different cultures, because mm-hmm. we had the 21 different Latino cultures at the same time coming into Lawrence, Mass in 1981.
Wow.
When the sugar cane closes in Puerto Rico, everybody comes here where, you know, we have Ecuador, Chile, even Cuba, and everybody else.
There's been many waves of
yes.
immigration
yes.
from Puerto Rico in the 30s, the 60s. This region,
yes.
specifically Holyoke, became a hub
yes.
for this Puerto Rican migration in their different waves.
Right.
And it still is one of those hubs. So when you go to Holyoke, for example, there are a lot of Puerto Ricans living there.
Yes.
And it's because culturally it has been that hub. So I appreciate yes. when people bring this diversity in culture mm-hmm. and that diversity goes into reflects on the art and reflects on the social movements that that arise, because I think that art and social movements go hand in hand, right? I think this is one of our tools.
And Johnny, I have over 1,000 books of Latin American art. So a lot of people will say to me, oh, but you're focusing on Puerto Rico and not Dominican Republic, for example. And I always make a connection with everybody who speaks Spanish, of course. And one of the things I bring to the forefront is, if you're from a different Latin American culture, including Brazil, I have books and pages that I can photograph for you and email to you, and we can work individually. So I do that a lot. I work with people individually. A lot of people don't even know that there are lots of books with tons of artists' work from Dominican Republic, from Ecuador, from the Maya, Mesoamerica, all of this. So it's so I'm working now in writing. Some of that also brings out my poetry.
Nice.
So it's just art,
Well, we would love to have you once again. You definitely have your book, and so that you can introduce it, we can talk about it further. Where can our viewers find you? What is your Instagram handle, Facebook?
Yes. So I have Facebook. I have Galería La Alvilda. You're going to have that at the end. And also, I would like to thank, again, the Cultural Council here. And, the title is Acuarela Física, Forma, Tiempo, Luz y Espacio. And thank the Massachusetts Cultural Council for everything they continue doing for everybody, So, the Chicopee Cultural Council has been pivotal for me, because I'm hard of hearing and I have earpieces, right? And I'm very conscious about the deaf community. And by getting the money from the council, I've been able to buy software so that I could type in information that I couldn't type before, and sort of integrate it. One thing with the teaching and things like that. So I'd like to mention that the Springfield Cultural Council also gave me a computer.
Nice.
So that I was able to bring to par what's happening now, because being through COVID, I had no access to teach this outside of the house. So again, the other people who helped me a lot when everything shut down was Make It Springfield. Which is like La Diaspora, which they're helping the community, selling things, all the artists and all that. And the East Hampton City Arts, they gave me an arts grant. So the Community Foundation of Western Massachusetts, they have information about me on their page also. And these are just lots of people.
This goes to show that your community believes in you.
Yes.
And that we appreciate your talent. We appreciate your education, your workshops. I think that you are an all-around artist. I love that you're going to be writing your book now. It is important for our community, and especially now in September, which is Hispanic Heritage Month. We want our Hispanic community to have role models like yourself. I think that it's inspiring how you are able to teach in spite of whatever disabilities or whatever barriers you may encounter. I think that you are a fighter. You're one of the artists that throughout the pandemic was able to stay creating, stay active, stay teaching. And as a Puerto Rican, I admire you. So thank you so much for what you do, not just for the Puerto Rican community, for the Hispanic community in general, for our local community in general, You were able to teach.
And the classes are also bilingually. So
which is great.
They have English, they have Spanish, and then when I say to people, I have a little piece of writing that says, if you don't hear anything, that's because I'm teaching the deaf right now.
Yeah. Wow, that's completely inspiring, and definitely.
So follow what I'm teaching, because I want people to experience also what deafness means.
Yeah. And I think that now that you mention it, that you incorporate that, you make that accommodation in your classes, right, for the deaf community. I think that is an example and something that other institutions should follow. I think that, for example, when sometimes the news are being delivered, maybe there's an important news that the deaf community needs to be aware of, but there are no interpreters. Even in our meetings, right, in government meetings and things like that. Zoom.
People don't have, they say, well, Zoom, you can bring it up. No, you can't.
So thank you for giving us that example. I think that we need more of you.
Thank you.
Right? So where can people find you once again? You have Instagram?
On Facebook, you're going to see the page here.
We're going to put it on the lower third as well?
Yes. So Galeria Alvilda, or just my name, Alvilda Sophia Anaya-Alegría. You can find me in either or.
Perfect.
You can I can become your friend. My page is family friendly. It's all artists. You can even connect with over 2,000 artists that I'm connected to, and writers, performers, everybody. So for me, that's my hub of internationally connecting and having so much vibration. Like I go in there, and we are a group of also of social justice artists. We're always looking at what can we do to help communities. So Galeria Alvilda on Facebook, and Alvilda Sophia Anaya-Alegría on Facebook. If you're from around here, I show up immediately.
Awesome.
So thank you very much, Johnny, and the council.
We look forward
else.
to seeing more of you, more of your classes, more of your presentations. Having soon a replica exhibit here in Chicopee. We'll definitely be seeing more of Alvilda Sophia Anaya-Alegría. What a long name. We love it. Well,
yes, because I don't want to lose my mom's last name.
Yes, that's why on Facebook I still use my mother's last name, Alomar, and she would kill me if I didn't use it.
You know?
But definitely, we want to thank all of you for watching this video, for showing up, for inspiring artists like us to continue to create. And definitely, we want to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month with one of our biggest role models in the art world here in Western Massachusetts. So we thank Alvilda Sophia Anaya-Alegría for her participation and for her art. So thank you all for watching this video. This is Johnny Miranda, and I will see you next time.